people who have requested a copy of the presentation. So what we'll do is we'll go through this simple marketing plan, and when we've finished I will actually also just make sure we can do it. I can email it or put into the chat space a marketing template. So I would say just sit back, enjoy, and then I'll send you the template and we can have a conversation afterwards. So basically this is about putting together a simple marketing plan. And before we get started, my name is Pat Gross, and just a quick sort of a synopsis. I have a history of jobs that have involved technology and marketing, which led me to writing a book, The Intuitive Marketer. I was the energy behind a market leader in Europe, so I'm very much involved in marketing, and what I did was became the market leader, and then I went back to study to find out why. So that's the practice before theory. And then coming over to Australia, spent 10 years in government, started up my business, and I made the ultimate mistake of not really putting a lot of energy into marketing from day one. And then 3 years down the line, like most businesses, you're over the honeymoon period, and you then need to reevaluate what you're doing. So I actually spent 3 years emerged in looking at this was when change was happening, when social media was coming into its forefront, etc. So that was me. I was actually doing all that research, and at the end of it I just came to the conclusion that I already knew the principles. It was just a case of just the software that we get promoted with these days is just a tool. And I said it led me to writing The Intuitive Marketer. So what you'll get out of today is ideas for incorporating marketing into your business, how to use marketing resources to set up your campaigns, and a basic marketing plan for your product or service. So it's a basic marketing plan which I'm going to give you a copy of at the end of this session. So this is the fourth in four weekly presentations, and the journey so far is that first of all we looked at how others get us to buy from them, and in that respect how you could actually use that same technique when you get others. So we talked about the freebies, we talked about reciprocate. Well, the freebies are reciprocation, but it's not just about getting people's name onto your database. It's actually starting a relationship, because if somebody offers you something for free, you feel as if you've got to give something back, and then that's how that relationship starts. The urgency, how these people make you buy something now because it's a limited offer, or it's a sale, or something that makes you want to buy. And I'm so grateful that I've got people in the background who will say to me, no, don't, because I get drawn into that. And you can actually, if you're a negotiator and you're negotiating a sale, and you talk about objections, basically the trick is to identify with that person, tell your story, but somewhere along the line you'll find out what their values are, their baseline value, and therefore you can, I'm sorry the word manipulate, but that's one way of putting it, is you can use that. Then if somebody has an objection, you go back to and put them in the emotional state of that particular value. Watch it now when people are trying to sell you something, the great salespeople, and you'll see that that's what they do. That's one of their techniques. And then we talked about how we all like to belong, and especially car salesmen or people, they'll start selling something, and somewhere in that conversation it becomes we, and therefore you tend to create that relationship. So there was just 5 examples there of in the first session of how salespeople will draw you in to buy from them. And then what we asked you then was thinking, okay, in your own organization, whether it's a not-for-profit or whether it's a business, then how can you use that? And then the second one was about standing out from the crowd, and how it's important to have your authority, be able to have your story, to be the tall poppy. it's important that you're the tall poppy. In a culture where, tall poppy syndrome, if you don't stand out from everybody else, then you're not going to, get to be as profitable as you could be. And then we looked at the 60-second pitch, and I've got something later on, just repeating that. And then the last session was how to talk to your customers or prospects, how they, the copywriting, how they want, how they want things in within 8 seconds. And if you can't sell them something within 8 seconds, you've lost them, especially on the internet. So it's about what is it, who's it for, and what's in it for me. And then I sort of moved on and people talk about where's the pain point. And you hear that from gurus all the time. Where's the pain point? Where's the pain point? And I've got an alternative to that. I actually think it's what's the motivation. And there are some key powerful motivators in this world. And I showed examples of, if you looked at it from the point of what motivates people, so at Christmas time it could be love, pride, etc. Then when you think about that, then the wording that you start use for your products or services takes on a whole new meaning. So that's what we covered last week. So, and then the value proposition, what makes you different. Okay, so what I'm going to do this week, or in this session, is to have a look at putting it all together with a marketing plan. Now, it doesn't matter if you've not attended. We are actually making all of the presentations available as a package. And even if you haven't listened before, at least this is about putting together a simple marketing plan. So here we go. Okay, the first thing you would start with is actually two things side by side. But you've got a product, a service, whatever, and you start with the value proposition here. What is it? What's the value that you're giving to these, to your prospects, to your market? So the first thing you'd be talking about is, why should they buy from you? So you're thinking about what's different, what's your story. And I've mentioned this before, especially when you want to stand out, you think, what makes me unique? Sometimes it's your story. It's a story of you. It's a story of your product. It's emotion. So you're identifying yourself with your market. And I use this example, for instance, with farmers markets as an example. Where you may have products and you tell the story of that product. It could be people trying to identify with other people, and you see this with the gurus out there who talk about especially in the business environment, they talk about their success and their real pain point, their real loss, draw the crowd in there, and they're drawing their story and they're aligning themselves to the pain of everybody in the room. That's what they do. In your value proposition, how does your product or service stand out from the competition? Now, in this document, I wanted to give it to you in this presentation, but to be honest, I haven't figured out how. But how does your product service stand out from the competition? And what is the competition? It might not even just be the same thing. It might be an alternative. So what is it so special? What makes you stand out? Be proud of standing out. And then think about, I call it the 60-second pitch. How can you get over to somebody in 60 seconds or on a website even 8 seconds about what it is that you're doing? And the value proposition is about the results and the benefits, not the features. So if you've got a headache tablet, for example, it's more about how people want to alleviate the headache as fast as possible and get on with their lives. It's not about the analgesics, the blah, blah. They come into it, of course. But I'm saying is, if your value proposition that you want to give to somebody out there, it's all about what are the results that they're going to get. Going to get better health or better quality of food, qualifications. It's all about the results. It's not just a qualification, it's what they get when they get the qualification. I'm working with not-for-profits in the training area, and there's a lot of focus in accountability on actually the content. Well, actually what the person wants is the result of it all. You know, if they want to become a nurse, if they want to do this, the qualification is just the journey. But if they can see that people who do this program actually get jobs, then yes, that's what you should be promoting. So, as I say, you be very clear about what your value proposition is, what makes you different, before you then start, or alongside considering, well, who is your target market? And try to be as specific as possible about who you want to attract. Now, there might be more than one market. It might be the end user. It might be the middleman. So you've got to think about the different markets that you want to attract. And the next thing you think is can they afford to pay? Now, if we work on motivation, if you're a somebody who's selling something that's, you know, a good quality program, good quality product, it's not about them. I wouldn't even be thinking about the price, because their motivation is not price. It's not about survival. Their motivation might be about indulgence. It might be about something else, love. It might be something. So that's the pride is a good one as well I've used. So always think about, when you say can they pay, that's just one half the equation. If you've got a good product or service, it's not about whether they can pay. But if you're working with a not-for-profit, then it's about can they pay for the quality of product or service that you're offering. And if they can't pay, somebody else can, which is where I do a lot of work in the grant writing area for people, so that I can actually provide the services to help them to get better. So I'm saying what motivates them. So I was thinking about your target market, target markets, and what motivates them. The third thing we need to then look at is your message to market. And we did cover this in a previous session, but I think it's very important to do this. And I just want to show you, if you can, in your mind, write down, right, okay, the name of whatever it is that you're doing is for, and describe that target market, who, and then actually describe the need, the issue, or the desire. Now, I've seen versions of this when it's all about the pain point, and I'm saying to you, no, it's not. It's about, you might have a pain point because that is actually an example of self-preservation, which is a motivation. But as I said, a desire is a motivation. What motivates them? So, you know, who are looking for the dream holiday, you know, that kind of thing. If you look at it from that perspective, so our product is for discerning, you know, middle-aged empty nesters who are looking for the dream holiday. That, and then are looking for whatever it meets the desire, solves the problem. So you go into the description of what it is, and you can use think about if it saves them time, if cost is an issue, or the impact. And you can actually, if you can say that, you know, you can make 8 times more profit if you follow this program, etc. But always look at the motivation, which is why I've put the arrow there. Contrast this with other options. And I said, I'm going to use the word contrast because it's not unlike, but it can be. You can say compared with, and you can show the different alternatives and why, and then you can go on to say, well, why you're different, what's the benefit to the customer. And then once you've got them hooked, it's about the call to action. And if you've got that message and you put it together in a little package, you can then translate that to your marketing media, whether it's your website, whether it's your social media campaigns, whether it's flyers. You've got to clear. Now, I'm just repeating a slide I used in a previous session. which was somebody's challenged me to how to sell underwater macrame. And this is what we came up with. And I'll just break it down for you. So this is what it is. The underwater macrame course, doesn't exist by the way, is for the mermaids in us, so it's for the target market, who are seeking new ways of getting things done whilst keeping cool in the heat of the midday sun. So we've got the motivation here. The underwater this is what it is delivered in a tropical pool. So that's the features here. Well, actually it's not features, it's at an ambient temperature that keeps you awake and refreshed. So this is what it is. Unlike other options, now I've used unlike as opposed to compared to in contrast, that leave you with heat exhaustion and dehydration. So I've compared them. Our course is, so this has gone for somebody who doesn't want to pay a lot, but our course is inexpensive and you'll have the satisfaction of having made your own waterproof wall hanging. So that's the results. And then I've put a call to action in there. The course is filling fast, so book your place. Now I've asked people about this and they said, yeah, we want to go, we want it. So somewhere in there's a magic formula, which has come out of that template. And you can imagine just putting that, using that as a basis for your advertising media. Okay, so let's move on and look at your marketing strategy. So you've got your value proposition, you've looked at your target markets, and you've looked at your message. What is that key message that you want to get through to people about your product or service? The next area we're looking at then is your marketing strategy and what strategies you will use to reach and attract your prospects. So we've got, and I'm saying, look, think about this now because it's a mixture. And in the document, we've got check boxes, etc. So, maybe you're looking online. And if you're looking, like I'm saying, if people are looking for something, one of the first things they do today is to look online and look on websites. So what does that mean? It means that if you haven't got a website, you're missing a big market. So we're looking at, your website and how that looks and presentable and how you can get the message across in less than 8 seconds. You may be looking at social media and social media campaigns. We think of Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and they've all got their own unique niches. And so you may then be looking at, well, which would be the right place for us, and etc. So the third area, which I find is quite, people are quite successful is having articles, blogs, I call them blogs, which you can put on. If you've got a website, you can have articles, educational content, because people will come to you, want to know more about your product or service. Maybe you might have some articles that you can hang off or some free downloads or something, because that's educating people and it's showing how you're a little bit different. The fourth one you might be looking at is LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's getting a bit bigger these days because people are identifying that there are ways to connect with others in a business-to-business environment. So you might have something that you're actually wanting to share with other businesses, and therefore LinkedIn might be one of the main avenues for you to do your promotion. Email campaigns, the newsletters, etc., that tend to block up the email boxes. And as I mentioned in an earlier session, maybe if you're a recipient of these, this is what I do, is I have an email address specifically for anything I subscribe to, so all the subscriptions go into that and don't block up my main emails. If you're selling products, then you might be looking at the online coupons. Scoopon, Groupon, whatever. So that might be, things to consider what you're going to do online. But almost as important as online is offline. And in my book, The Intuitive Marketer, I actually, express that you should actually mix online and offline. So you might be looking at face-to-face. You might be looking at networking. your strategy for selling may be to get out there into the networks and let other people know that you exist. I mean, I was working with cleaning companies in Melbourne, and they wanted to stand out from it. I said, well, why don't you just join a couple of networks? You've got a couple of business networks and build the relationships there. Then you might be able to get to the companies that you're looking for, as opposed to the ones where you're just competing on the cheapest offer, where really it's the first to the bottom loses. You might be somebody, you know, that's got products, so you might be in markets or shops or expos. Now, in that network, in that and again, sorry, in the market, shops and expos, you might be looking at particular kinds. I mean, if you're going, so the shops, it might be particular boutique shops, so you might be looking for the supermarkets. Expos may be where you've got a service that you want to promote. And therefore it'd be good to have, you know, to be there, to be in people's faces, etc. Networking. I started this year off, and one of my main things was to identify 2 networks that I wanted to join this year. So I've joined 2 networks, and I put my effort into there to networking, and that helps for you to become more visible and to people to get to know who you are, and that's a good way for getting referrals. Offline flyers, media, they're still important. If you can get something, especially if something out there, if you want to get to people to come into programs, or if you've got a product, and you can have, we talk about creating little cards, so people can actually take a little bit about that story or the feature of the product, and they can take it away. With, of course, with your contact details and maybe an offer. Books. Books are big these days, because it's easier now to write your own book, get it published, self-published, and people are using books as business cards. So you may be something that you could use, you know, that you're in an area where you could create a book, maybe a book of recipes, maybe a book of you know, your own health and fitness, something about your own journey. There's many opportunities to actually create a book. Even an ebook online has been known. You know, they are known to create lots of interest. Referrals, there are referral networks that are deliberately set up, so that you can, as I said, that's one way of getting new business. Referrals can be, you can actually pay somebody a percentage, etc. There's different strategies in place, and again, you've still got those offline coupons and offers. So I've just given you an example here that if you're sitting down and thinking about how we're going to you know, get our stuff to market, how we're going to promote our goods and services, then I've just given you some examples there of being able to pick out from them a dedicated strategy of what will work for you. Okay, the next to consider is your customer service, because how do you propose to get the product or service to your customers? This is your marketing plan. People want something and they want it now. They don't want to have to wait a week. You see these furniture adverts or promotions on the internet, and they're competing with each other. And you know, if you want the suite, we deliver twice a week, or if you get it buy it on Thursday, you can have it next Tuesday. The ones that are really going to get the sales are going to be those that's probably going to give you a 24-hour turnaround. So if you can disrupt how it's normally done in your industry, then you're probably going to get that, you know, that edge when it comes to selling, because people want it now. So it's easy if it's an online product, because you can do the download and the payment gateway and make it as easy as possible now for people to pay. I'm finding through online accounting systems now that make it so easy for people to press a button and to pay you straight away. Which is good, you know, it's good because they're getting the service, etc., and it's good for us because they're getting the money into our account sooner. But it's all about, you know, how do you get the product to the customers? Maybe you need to offer a freebie first because people are not sure, you know, so you might give them a taster. or you could split the payment. So I'm just thinking, how can you get, how do you propose to get the service to your customers, and at the same time, get them over the line when it comes to buying from you. And you could be, if you're going to be using the postal service or couriers, which are the ones that's going to be most cost effective, but also get get that exchange happening. Is there a quicker way? How you package your programs and services, products, services, all of these you probably start thinking about. But then I'm thinking about customer service here, we're moving on here. If you're going to, and this is what people do, they come back to you if you've provided a good customer service experience. In fact, the word is experience. What experience can you give to somebody who buys from you? So, and again, it can be a product, a program, a service. So, and we think about the hairdressers, and you get the coffee while you wait or wherever. Then you go back there because you might just like the idea of having a coffee. One that I don't see so much in Australia, but I certainly did over in the UK. If you go to a restaurant and you get the bread rolls in the middle, put straight into the middle of the table, before as you wait, making your order for your meal, and they're free, they're gratuitous, but they're that it's part of that sort of offering and that experience when you go to that restaurant. Now the problem is, you have to make sure that whatever that experience is, you maintain it, because if you then decide to drop it, they remember that, and it sort of becomes quite a negative experience for them. You've got to tap into the motivation to want to come back. So if you've got a product, what is it that you can do or add or follow up with that will get them to remember you? And to come back. Now that's just reminded us because of an experience we had a few years ago when we went back to previous customers for this company who sold products, and we wanted we wanted to know about 5 or 6 years later, how it was going. So we went back to them, and this product, they actually seen it. It was a really good value, and when they had friends, but who wanted to know where they'd got them from, but by this time they'd forgotten. And the quick solution there was to be able to put little plaques, because it was a solid product, on the product, so that if somebody did ask in the future, they actually had their contact details. So it's just something that I just thought about there. If you want people to refer back to you because of the quality, how can you leave your calling card, basically? And look, today it's easier today, especially if you're doing things online, but how can you upgrade? So if you're doing things online, you can then give them offer to the next stage, and then etc. If you've got a product, then it may be, again, how can you give them the next product or something that your value add experience. And it's said both online and offline. If you just sell them one item, that's it. But if you give them to the next level, then you're obviously increasing your products and you're increasing your sales. And I just want to say also that, just a note here, that it's easier to sell accessories to a suit than a suit to accessories. So what I mean there is that if you've bought something, or if somebody's trying to sell something, make sure it is complementary and you're not asking them to make a huge jump. So just make sure there is a synergy between what you're offering them, what they're buying, and what's going to value add directly to that product. That's when you get their interest. Don't try and make a huge jump. Okay, so in this plan, obviously this is everything you think you're going to be doing. And then we're looking at, this is the back end here, and we're looking at the activities. Actually, you've got your products, etc. But what do you need in the back end? This may or may not be necessary. But what are resources required to develop your product or services? What's required to deliver it? So who are the delivery partners? Who are the development partners? As I mentioned, if you're going to sell in boutique shops, again, how do you set up those arrangements? Who can help you to build your products or service? So who's out there who could be the middleman that can make life easier for you to get to where you need to be? Now, a classic example is online, where you may go into a joint venture partnership because you might have a product that could be shared through somebody else's networks. And so they could be promoting through your networks. That's one way of helping to get stuff to market in the delivery. Or you might have a new, something that you've probably a new process if you've got a product. And that process you can't do yourself, but you might look out there to see who else can help you and who's got the best fit with you and the best financial arrangement and stuff like that. So this is more looking at the back end and who else needs to be involved. That's going to make it easier for you and more cost effective of you to get your product developed, delivered to your marketplace. And it may be, how can you extend your marketplace using other people's networks? And then in the marketing plan, we always talk about people can know how much it costs to do something, but they actually need to figure out how much it's going to cost to get the customers. It's a numbers game, and social media can seem expensive, but when you compare that to, people were paying lots of money to Yellow Pages many moons ago, and we just forget about that. It's always expensive if it's a popular media channel. So it's about how much is it, how much it's going to cost. And we talked about there earlier about, delivery partners and development partners. So they're going to be in the cost of production here, but the cost of customer acquisition, as it is if you're going to, if you're going to go into referral partnerships or joint ventures, etc., there's going to be a percentage of the cost of your product, etc. So you have to work out, is it still profitable? What's our numbers for it to be profitable? So it's not, we're just going to advertise on social media, because you can be throwing money away. You have to really test and know what you're doing, but you could be just throwing good money after bad. But then you could find that by investing so much, you are actually getting a good return. And so I said the exercise here is in this package. We have actually got, there's questions that you can ask yourself, the value proposition, your target market, your message to market, your marketing strategy, your value add, how you're going to develop your product right through to your sales and your budget. So that's what this plan is based on. And what we say here is to ensure your marketing plan is sustainable and review it on a regular basis. So if you're watching this, I'm saying to you and you're interested to know more, let's have a conversation. Let's talk. And all you have to do is either go on to bit.ly/TCE booking or support at the Community Entrepreneur. And let's see how we can get you moving.